Okay, so here's reality. This is where your swoosh probably is. This is reality where you'd like the swoosh to be. Does that make sense so far? However, feel, this is where the feel comes in. You'd think, well, boy, wouldn't it be a simple equation if I could just feel swooshing here, a little too far to the left and a little bit further ahead than normal. But unfortunately, the feel may be up to 500% different. We've kind of boiled it down to, I like how we've got it boiled down. And 3 things is a lot of things, especially because they're all pretty sizable changes in terms of scope, right? But our 3 things that we're working on to get more distance, but also be able to hit it cleaner and hit the irons more straight to straight. So we had the longer, wider arc. So get the handle further and further away from its final. All right, so we had length and width of the arc, which we were going to work on. Yep, that's going to be an ongoing everyday exercise. That is, and it's not just going to be good for golf, of course. Okay, so the second idea we had was getting free through the impact zone, being able to snap the club 180 degrees with more quickness, freedom, and less tension. So we have a lot of people out there are like this, where they kind of steer or control the head or otherwise get too squeezy in both the hands all the way up into the arms. And in your case, we can see there's some inwards pull from the tension and not allowing. So I think a great word is allowing. You're allowing the club head to be whipped. So just by allowing it means that you're getting out of its way, or what Mike Austin used to call impeding its progress. So you're tending to impede its progress. And we want more of a rubbery sensation throughout the swing that culminates in this whip cracking sensation. It's very difficult to describe it in words to where you will say, ah, and immediately start doing it. It's something that you have to experience it until the light comes on and you started budging. We can see on the speed radar that you were starting to move in that direction, but once in a while you go, oh, up here. And you have to try to figure out, what the hell did I do differently?
Let me, in that regard, when you're up here.
Yes.
And you say throw, so you're doing this right up here.
Oh yeah, but not stopping there.
Yeah.
Now that's technically what's happening. So in your case, and a lot of people out there, it's a great point you bring up. We know for sure because we have graphs by all the smartest PhDs where they're studying, they're measuring all this. Inverse dynamics, the Japanese have a grip dynamometer that they're using to study, where they're actually directly measuring forces now in scientific studies. But inverse dynamics is telling us where torque is being applied to the grip to straighten out the hands.
Now the pros
That's back, of course they are. Every one of them's doing it. So one of the graphs that I often put up in videos is of a multiple major winner. They don't name him, but it's someone who swings like 124 miles an hour top speed, or in this swing he's swinging 124. He's a multiple major winner. That narrows it down quite a bit.
Sure.
Right? Could be Brooks Koepka, it could be Dustin Johnson. Yeah, it really narrows down the field to, when you get to that speed. In fact, there's some parts of the torque almost start to, because remember, if you're cocking your wrists as you approach the top of your swing, what do you think slows down the cocking of the wrists? Uncocking force. If you're in a car and if you're in a stick shift and you're in neutral and you take the parking brake off, you start to roll backwards. What slows down the backwards roll? You're rolling down the hill. What are you going to do? You're going to,
Brakes.
no, not the, you're not going to hit the brakes. You're in a stick shift. What are you going to do to keep the car from,
Go down and just drop down
you're going to put it in gear and you're going to give it a little gas, right? Now, what's the first thing that happens? The car doesn't instantly go forward. The first thing that happens is it's slowed down. The rate of fall starts to slow until finally you reach 0 miles an hour, and then you start slowly inching up the hill. But you don't instantly go from backwards to forwards. There's a slowing down. So same thing, the wrists are cocking. How do you think they slow down the cock of the wrists? By starting the uncocking process. Starts first to slow down and then, okay, so now in a lot of golfers' cases though, when you need more of this out in front, so what will happen to a lot of people is, and this is what a caster would be, a caster is someone who's applying the force at the proper time, but in the absence of shift and turn. The net result that you're looking for is a swoosh that's too far around to the left and too far ahead. Why? Because you tend to swoosh too early and you tend to swoosh out to the right too much. Okay? So it's all relative to what you're doing. If you're swooshing, the ideal spot to whoosh would be along the arc, 30 inches past the ball. That's the reality right here. So if we drop another ball down, this mat is 30 inches from tee hole to front. And here we have a reasonable arc in this line here to where every club in your bag ideally will be swooshing right there at that golf ball. Now that's what real, but that may not be the feel. Make sense? Okay. Now, where are you really swooshing usually?
probably just around in there.
Too early and several degrees rightwards of the proper arc, or a straight arc, okay? So your normal swing was about 8 degrees swing plane to the right. Now interestingly, I'm only about 2 or 3 inches short, aren't I? With this, that's where your swoosh is. Do you see how close it is to the ideal swoosh location in terms of forward? Because remember, your angle of attack was about 0 overall, which means your low point is right at the base of the back of the ball. That's too early, right? Because it also means if we have a dollar bill divot size, the low point will be in the middle of that, which means you're actually starting to hit turf 1-2 inches behind it. Does that make sense? And that's very common for you to hit turf until you finally decide, well, that sucks, I'm sick of hitting it fat, I'm just gonna start picking it clean from now on. And then it turns into all the thin shots, thin shots, thin shots. Drop kick, thin, drop kick, thin. Go back and forth, and the window seems very small to catch it right in the sweet spot. Clean every time when you become a picker. Okay, so here's reality. This is where your swoosh probably is. This is reality where you'd like the swoosh to be. Does that make sense so far? However, feel, this is where the feel comes in. You'd think, well, boy, wouldn't it be a simple equation if I could just feel swooshing here, a little too far to the left and a little bit further ahead than normal. But unfortunately, the feel may be up to 500% different than the real. So here we have 3 inches further forward and about 4 inches around to the left further is our reality. You'll probably need to feel 500% of that in order to move this tiny bit. This is why fixing a golf swing is so hard